Screencast 41, Building a Precision Design Report, Part 2. So we just created this in the previous screencast, and it was a single row coming back for a specific palette. For just a moment, I'm going to change how this code works to just show all the palettes. In other words, I'm not going to respect the parameter that's passed in. And it's not going to be obvious why at first, but it will be obvious soon, later, why I wanted to do this. So you can see here the URL, it's constructing one to a specific palette. I'll just comment that out and replace it with this URL, which is all the top palettes. I save, and remember, since I changed code, I'll have to build. And the build is started, and the build succeeded. And now let's go back to the preview of that report. There we go. And you should see a whole bunch of palettes now. Let me make sure I type in a, oh, it doesn't matter, I guess. I can just type in blah, blah, blah. Okay, you just see it doesn't matter what I typed in, I get all the palettes. The reason I wanted to do this is because I'm going to show you a technique that might be confusing if I don't. And this is a very important technique. This is a trick, so to speak, in SSRS. And remember that we wanted to show a very customized layout for a palette. And maybe we even want to show a customized layout for multiple palettes. And I'm going to show you, and that's fine. I showed you how to lay out things on a report, but then I did something, which is I made the report data bound. I had a data region, this table, and I bound it to some data set. And now, this is sort of at odds with our what we wanted. I wanted a really fancy layout for a specific palette. Yet I bound it to a table, and now what do I get is back a simple table, which is really not what I wanted. So we're going to show you how to do that. We're going to show you how to create a fancy layout for each element or each row in the table. And this is a non-obvious behavior in SSRS. So here's our table. Let's go back to our precision design and let's edit it. And I'm going to do something a little odd. I'm going to go and just remove a bunch of columns here. Delete. Oops. There's some sort of bizarre error there. Let me go ahead and save that and reopen it. Not sure what that was. Okay. None the worse for wear. Now I have title user ID. I'm going to leave those alone for a moment, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to insert a new column to the right. I'm going to make this column drag it out a little bigger. And then I'm going to do something which I've never shown you before, which I'm going to go to the toolbox and I'm going to drag something inside of the details row. This is a new one. And I'm not going to drag anything. I'm going to drag a very special thing. Specifically, I'm going to drag in a rectangle. The innocent little rectangle. Now, if you have very sharp eyes, you're looking very closely at the screencast, you'll notice something a little odd happened here, which is you see the background of the header in the row? It's pure white. There's nothing underneath it. You can't see the grid. But when I drag in the rectangle, suddenly I can see the dots from the grid behind me. That's kind of curious, actually. Let's try to see if anything happened to the preview, just as a result of doing that. And again, I can just type in anything because I'm ignoring that parameter. There's just space there. There's just complete and utter space there. And I'm going to turn on the header's background color just to make it a little more obvious where the bounds of that thing is. And same for the background of the footer, just to make it obvious. So there's the header, right? And there's the footer. You can see how this works. This is for the header row, and this is for the bottom of the bottom row. Close the preview. So why did I drag in a rectangle? Well, the truth is a rectangle isn't just a simple box. A rectangle can, unlike some other things, contain other controls. And that's what we're going to use to create fancy layouts for each row. Let me show you. Let's try something simple. Let's just, and I'm going to increase the size of this row. I'll need to for what okay. And I'm going to make the row have a color of, please forgive me for this, but I'll need to pick a color that's obvious. So I'm going to pick, for a while, orange. This will look terrible. Let's go ahead and take a look. Save all. Oops. override, I guess. Okay. Preview. Okay, you can see now every row is orange. Fine. Let's see. I'm going to take in a text box and drag it into the rectangle. Interesting. Let's see if the preview looks any different. It doesn't. And why is that? Because I haven't set anything on this text box, right? I didn't type in any text. I didn't change the background color. So it's white in preview, but really it's, you know, the color is, as you can see here, transparent. So that's a thing to think about if your color background is really white or transparent. I'll go ahead and keep it actually, you know what? I'll make it red. Just for, let me go back to red. I'm going to type in something, right? Oops. I'm going to type in inside here just the word palette. Okay, and I'm going to select it and click bold, and then there we go. Save it and preview. Okay, now what do you see? Each row has a little special design. Okay, we're getting somewhere kind of interesting now. Oops, go back to the design. And now, instead of just saying the word palette, hey, this is an expressionable property, right? So we can get things in there. We can say expression fields dot title. Oops, I needed my, there we go. Equals fields bang title dot value. Okay, save it, preview it. Oh, very nice. Notice that there's some wrapping going on, which I can prevent or I can control if I need to, but let's leave it alone for a while. Interesting. So let's go ahead and now that we know that, let's move this over here, get rid of this red, we'll go back to transparent, and I'll go back to, I'll change this to be, for a moment, something just light. And maybe white smoke, which is very, very light, almost gray. You may have trouble seeing it actually. I'm going to remove these columns. In fact, I'm going to remove this column. Right? And now we're going to style this out a little bit more. Right? We're going to make this longer. We're going to make the size 16 point, and I'll use my favorite font, Sego UI. And why not use, yeah, I'll just leave it there. Keep it bold. Okay, and then now I'm going to drag in another text box below here, and I'll align it left, give it similar width, and then I'll type in, can I use my data sets? Can I drag it? Let's see if it happens. I type in username, and it works, right? So it doesn't work just for tables, so I can drag it into a rectangle. Interesting. Go back to Sego UI. We'll make this maybe not quite as dark, right? Now let's preview. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, right? It's kind of looking interesting, I think. And I'll get rid now of these colors at the top and the bottom. They weren't so interesting to me. Right? And now let's actually add the colors of the palettes. Okay. Actually, there's one more thing I wanted to add. Before we do that, I wanted to add the ID itself. So we'll do another text box, and look how I'm laying this out, like a little form, right? So I'm going to drag it. Sometimes it's very sensitive. I just use the keyboard to drag. Back to data sets, I'll drag in the ID, and again back to Sego UI. I'll leave it a little smaller actually, right? And I'll make this the same color, or a similar, lighter color, dark gray, let's say. Preview. Okay, and you see what's happening here, right? I'm making little forms for each record. And finally, let's get the colors in there. Now the colors are not, there's 5 of them in each row. So I'm just going to, the simplest way of doing this, in this case, I could use a text box, which has some other advantages, or a rectangle. In this case, I will just use a text box because maybe I want to put some text inside of it later. I'll go ahead and change this text box to be a little bigger and square. And I'll copy it. And then inside this rectangle, I'll paste it again. And I'll paste it again. And I'll paste it again. And then I'll go back to data sets, and I need one more, sorry. Paste it again, because I have 5 colors. And now I'll drag in the colors here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Save, preview. Okay, now we see that. Now, let's go and just copy the text, which is this expression, into the background color. I can copy it like that, field 1 color value. Let's verify it's doing what it's supposed to. Okay, colors are showing up. I can also, instead of copying it, go to expression, of course. Oops, not there. Select this rectangle, go to the color, expression, fields, let me erase this, equals color 2. I can do it that way. Do the same thing here. Expression, erase, equals, fields, color 3. On this, background color, expression, erase this, equals, fields, color 4. Again to the 5th box, and then excuse me, equals, oops, not parameters, but fields, color 5, right? And I save everything, and now I preview this. Now what do you see? Right, isn't that nice? You created a custom layout for each row. Right? Now let's go back and remember I showed you I ignored the parameter, right? I want to show just a specific detail for a specific record, a row. So we'll go back to, let me close this preview, back to our precision design, and go to get palette data. Remember I ignored the original URL. Now I'll no longer ignore it. Oops. Okay, we're set. And now let's build, because I changed code. And let me prepare myself with my URL, which is somewhere here. Actually, you know what? I don't need to do that, because I'm going to use this as a drill through, remember? So let's go back to my old drill through. Close all these windows. And let's see what happens. So we'll go to Palettes New, Design, Preview. So 1930. So notice that's gray, kind of blue, green. Gray, blue, green. 1930. It was called Cheer Up Emo Kid. That's what I clicked on. How about Giant Goldfish? ID. Right? And now, what have I demonstrated here is how a couple of things. First, how to give intricate designs for each row inside a table, right? And how to achieve a nice detail report for a specific record. Very useful technique. And I've shown you also, again, how to lay out a more complicated precision design. So it's a very important technique. If you're laying out things like checks or things, this is a technique you'd use. Okay? So that's it for Screencast 41. I will see you next time.